All right, everybody. Well, I'm excited for you to meet my friend Carrie. And Carrie and I think we may have started in the business around the same time, 2003, 2004, somewhere around in there. And well, no, 2000. Yeah, I guess it was 2003 that I signed up as a team member. So I remember hearing Carrie on VoiceCom is what we had before Voxer. And there was a lot of training, and I loved listening to you, Carrie. I loved your training, and I always remember have known your name for a long time. And we're on the same team with with Wendy Campbell, so we have the same upline, and we've been at different trainings together and things like that. But to actually get to meet you, Carrie, at the regional up in Huntsville in Alabama, I sat behind Carrie, and we just made a connection. As always, you end up with these Juice Plus family members, but I just loved you from the minute that we even just got to interact. So we just kind of were chatting afterwards, and I said, "Oh, I loved your presentation." She said, "Oh, I loved your presentation." So we said, "Let's swap our teams," and so that's how it came about. So Carrie's doing my team called this morning, and then tonight I'm going to do hers, and I'm going to be doing the overcoming objection. So if anyone wants to join us for that, of course you're welcome to. We can get you that information. So Carrie, I'm just going to turn it over to you because I don't know you enough to really give you your story. That's why I've invited you on. But you guys have to know this is a huge treat because Carrie's family has been under some serious stress the last couple of weeks as her daughter just had a baby at 31 weeks, and this baby's in the NICU still and has a long road ahead, but she's just doing really well. So you can tell us about that if you want to, but that you would come on and do this call with me. I was telling her last night, it's okay if you can't do it. Don't stress. Like, I know you've got a lot going on, but thank you, Carrie, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. And I think we've had a mutual fan club for a long time because I've heard your name for years as well, being on Wendy Campbell's team and hearing you on VoiceCom. And actually, I started in the business in 2000.
Okay.
And I was really looking for something because I saw so much sickness. My family had suffered a devastating loss. And so I really wasn't looking for a business, but I was looking for a way for all of us to stay well. And I did what so many people do and bought hundreds of dollars worth of vitamins. And after a couple of weeks, my husband said, you know, in the military, they told us not to waste our money on vitamins because it would just go right through us. And I think that's what this is doing. We need to eat the food. And I don't know if you've all ever had that realization, we need to eat better food, and you try to be conscientious and then it just rots in the refrigerator like a big old green slimy science project, but that's what happened to us. And I thought, we can't afford this either. And I was lamenting to just a sweet lady I had met at the YMCA swimming pool, believe it or not, and she said, "You sound so frustrated." I said, "I really am frustrated and I'm scared." And she said, "I'm so thankful my family takes Juice Plus." She created a lot of interest with me. And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "Well, it's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, and it sure reduces my guilt as a mom." So didn't she get my attention? And I knew she was an RN, so I proceeded to ask her all kinds of questions. And she did a very smart thing. She didn't answer any of them. She just said, "Well, I think all the information you're looking for is on this tape that I have." And some of you might not even know what a cassette tape is, but that's what we had then. And she deferred to the expert on the tape. And she said, "If I let you borrow this tape, would you listen to it and give me your opinion?" And I said, "Sure. Because I love to give my opinion about everything." So I don't know if anybody else is like that or encountered people like that. But I thought she was a very nice person. And just fruits and vegetables in a capsule sure sounded unbelievably easy. And that's probably part of the reason that I didn't listen to it for so long. She actually had to follow up with me 6 or 7 times. We lost track. And she wasn't pestering me though, because every time she would call and she would say, "What did you think about the tape?" And I said, "I haven't heard it yet." But I didn't I didn't really have any way to play that tape. My husband had a cassette player in his car, and I was hoping to borrow it, but he just wouldn't let loose of it long enough for me to drive around and listen to the tape. And she called back, and she called back, and then she finally said, it doesn't sound like this tape is working for you. If you're not interested, it's okay. It won't hurt my feelings. I'll just come and pick it up because I have somebody else who wants to hear it. And so that produced this huge fear of loss. And she said, oh, I'll pick it up Wednesday. And my 9-year-old at the time said, well, I have a play school tape player. You can listen to it. So that's how we listened to that first tape, sitting on my bed, both of us listening to the tape. And it made a lot of sense. But I really didn't know how it was going to fit in my budget. I thought, if this is too good to be true, if this is yet another promise, and I just don't want to be disappointed. So I still kind of held out. And I think we've all encountered people who don't want to be lied to again, and they're skeptical. And I can really respect that because I was that way. And maybe some of you were. I don't know your stories, but we're all different. Some of us are, yes, that's for me, and I'll sign up. And don't we love to encounter those people who get it right away? But that was not me. Finally, I had listened to it, and I said, well, yeah, it makes sense. And she took me to an event, and that's what put me over the top. And I was going to back out of going to that event, but she did another very smart thing. She said, I will pick you up in my car. And so it's a lot harder to back out when you are accountable to somebody. And she's famous for that, picking people up in her car and taking them, because that's how they'll go, right? Just like with a web walk or something, the way they'll go is if you pick them up, like on a 3-way call or something, and then tap them into that information. So I went. My first event was, I don't think you even heard this, Stacy. It was Smokey Santillo, the developer of Juice Plus. And so at the end, I was so excited. And back then, the crowds were a lot smaller than they are now. And I got in line and I got to talk to him. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We need to tell people about this stuff. And he was so kind. He didn't, like, well, lady, what do you think I'm doing here? But he just said, welcome to the family. And then it was somebody in my to-be upline. Maybe you've heard of Dawn Rathman, and her sponsor, Lois Berner, who said, well, since you're so excited about this and you want to get started, you probably don't want to just get yourself started. You want to start your whole family, which was true. And they said you could sign up and offset some of your cost as a distributor. So even though I'm a national marketing director now, I did not have that vision in the beginning. I don't know, did all of you? Did you think when you signed your distributor application, you didn't either, Stacy?
No.
that was even a possibility or a desire? I mean, I was grieving. I had 12 volunteer positions, 11 or 12 volunteer positions, and I didn't know how to say no, obviously, and I didn't want my heart broken. But I did lock arms with them, and I got to VF in 60 days. And that was in April of 2000. And then I thought, well, that's enough for me. I don't need this rejection. I don't need to work this hard. I don't need the money, all of those lies. And I kept telling Susie, and she's so sweet. She totally bought my story. But Dawn Rathman didn't. She heard the story behind the story and the needs behind all of my bravado. And she said, why don't you make a list? Make 2 lists. One list of your passions and priorities, and another list of how you're spending your time. And let's see how those fit together. It was a clean miss. And she said, don't you think somebody else could shelve the library books at the elementary school? She said, besides, you're way too tall for that job. And don't you think, somebody else could do this and that? And so I kept 2 of those volunteer positions that I was passionate about. And she said, give me 60 days. to lock arms with me. And what I have realized through the career, it took me 10 years to get to National Marketing Director, because I started and stopped and started and stopped. And I had the belief in the product and the industry and the company. But what I was lacking was that belief in myself. And I was a grieving mother. I had lost my firstborn daughter just a couple years before I heard about Juice Plus. And I thought, I don't need any more heartache. I don't need any more people rejecting what I had to offer. But I was pretty confused. I thought what I was offering was myself, like reaching into my chest, ripping out my heart and offering that. And how vulnerable did that make me? I don't know if any of you are like that. But I thought if they said no thank you to Juice Plus, that they are saying, you are not enough. I'm rejecting you. And business was really, really hard at that point. And maybe some of you have gone through that. And that I don't need this pain. This is too hard. And I gradually figured it out. But what happened in 2009, I got a lot of customers. I had a customer qualified business I have for almost 16 years now. I'm very proud of that. But it was not until 2009 when Dawn Rathman systematized how we talk to people in a process she called the 4-step success process, that it was then pain-free, really, to talk with people. There's no rejection. I never have to worry that I'm coming on too strong. I never have to be worrying about if I'm perceived as pushy. I don't know. Does anybody else ever have those worries? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's pretty universal because we're all really nice, caring people. And we want this so much for other people, don't we? We just, anyway. So I will, if I could show you a system, a process where you wouldn't have to feel that rejection and you wouldn't have to worry that you were pushy, would you want to learn it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Well, I will tell you the 4 steps, and then I'll go through what they mean. So the 4 steps, first is create interest. The second is qualify interest. The third is verify interest. And the 4th is execute the next step. Okay, so create interest, that is our job. And how we do that is, now if it's somebody we already have a relationship with, and they're maybe talking about their health or talking about their eating or something, you might just say, do you ever find it hard to eat 10 fruits and vegetables every day? Quiet. The key here is let them answer for themselves. Sometimes we don't want to hear their answer. We're nervous about their answer, so we fill in the blanks for them. But we are asking in an effort to discover what their needs are. To an athlete, you might say, do you feel like you have enough nutritional intensity to support what you ask of your body? I said that to a cyclist in my grocery store with whom I had already developed rapport. He was telling me all about these races. He only started cycling when he was 50, and he had his cycling outfit on. I'm surprised he didn't bring his bicycle in the grocery store. But so I asked him that, and he said, "That's a very good question." And I'm like, I know. But he said, well, he didn't qualify his interest. So if it is somebody we don't have a relationship with, Maybe we're sitting next to them sitting next to them on an airplane. Maybe the create interest starts way back with smiling at them. If they don't return our smile and they put their face in a book, they're probably not going to hear about Juice Plus. And if they do hear about Juice Plus, yeah, then we are being pushy because they have not qualified even interest in having a conversation, much less qualifying themselves as a candidate to hear about Juice Plus. So the qualifying, that's what they do, qualifying interest. They nibble, they respond, they say yes and whatever, and they qualify that they're interested. So oftentimes I'll ask moms, like in the grocery store in the produce department. I'm thinking of this one mom who had two little boys like hanging off the shopping cart, and she just had her hands full. We were talking about produce, and I said, do you ever have to battle with your kids to get them to eat fruits and vegetables? And what will most moms say? Yeah, it's a battle. They qualify their interests. Now, I don't think that that's enough interest to go on to the next step. I really want them to be a qualified candidate. So it's not enough that they don't eat it. They also have to believe it's important, right? So I might ask, do you feel like fruits and vegetables are important? And usually what people will say is, well, of course I do. And then you can go to the next step. Now, I want to give you an example of a mom who seemed not to qualify her interest. Because when I said, do you battle with your kids to get them to eat? Is it a battle to get your kids to eat fruits and vegetables? She said, no. She said, no. So you might think, well, she's not a candidate. But I thought, well, I really need to discover what she's telling me here. I don't want to rule her out just on my assumptions. So I said, do you think fruit and vegetable nutrition is important? And I said, oh, so you think fruit and vegetable nutrition is important? And she said, well, of course I do. I've just given up. I don't battle anymore. I've given up, and I feel guilty every day. So wasn't it important to clarify what she was telling me? And so then I went to the next step, and that is verifying. That's getting permission from them to go to the next step. So and I said, oh, if I could show you how to get fruits and vegetables in your kids every day and they'd be begging you for it, would you want to know about it? And she's like, well, of course. So here, I'm not being pushy. She's like, would you tell me already? And that's what I get from a lot of people. Please tell me. What is it? What's this magic secret formula that you have? And isn't that exactly what Susie did with me? She listened, didn't she? And I was qualifying my interest all over the place. And then she said, it's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. It sure reduces my guilt as a mom. And she said, if I could loan you this tape, would you listen to it and give me your opinion? I did the same thing with all of you. I said, if I could show you a way that you wouldn't have to suffer rejection or wonder if you're being pushy, would you want to hear about it? And what did you say?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you all verified it. So this is a very transferable skill. It is also a great way to enroll little kids in picking up their toys. So you might create interest by, would you like to go to the park later today? or something else, or with our husbands. I mean, it's universal. Instead of throwing up on people, and believe me, I've had my fair share of throwing up on people. My father, I wrote so many tear-stained letters. I don't know if I told this, Stacy, when we were in Huntsville.
No.
My parents lived together. They have for, over 50 years. My mom has taken Juice Plus from virtually the beginning. It took my dad 10 years, and he's the sick one. I wrote tear-stained letters. He went to see Dr. Richard Du Bois. I mean, it was heartbreaking. I almost quit my business several times because he's the first love of my life, and he's telling me no. So I flew my parents to Phoenix in 2010 for my NMD speech. So it was my parents, my youngest brother happened to be in town. He was there, my husband, my 2 daughters, my team from all over the country. And at that conference, when William Sears and his wife Martha were talking, my dad leaned over to my mom and said, "I think I'll take my Juice Plus every day now." Okay. So later, I will get back to the 4-step success process, but I think this is this is valuable to hear. So I just had to ask him, "Dad, I almost quit the business over and over because you said no. Why was that?" So his answer was, "I have no idea. I almost quit all of this for I have no idea." My daughters got to go to the private colleges of their choice. My youngest daughter says she went to Northwestern. She's a statistician. And she said, "Yeah, I got to go to Northwestern because I've been building brain cells out of Juice Plus for all these years." So she's smart enough. And then she said, plus my mom is an NMD with Juice Plus. And so she got a really great scholarship. I mean, don't get me wrong. We didn't pay $55,000 a year out of our pockets, but we were able to make up the difference so that she could go. And those wouldn't have been options before. We were buried in medical debt. I mean, when I started this. And right now with my granddaughter, who is my first grandchild, and is 1 pound 9 ounce baby. And she's mighty, though, because the nutrition she did get was Juice Plus nutrition through her mama. She just had a placental injury early on, and she couldn't grow more. But I have the flexibility. I still work my business, but I have the flexibility. After this call, I'm going to go down and pick up my daughter who's been discharged from the hospital, pick her up and take her while her husband's at work so she can go twice today to be with her daughter. And I mean, where else am I going to do that? Have that flexibility. I'm so grateful. So getting back to the 4-step success process, we want to, if I, would you? And then when they say yes, you get their, and of course now you're not waiting for people to listen to tapes. It's awesome. If I could send you this link and then I say, I'll send it to you right now. Can you put your contact information in my phone? And then I have it, saved. So I'm going to send it to them right then. Because then when it pops up, oh, that's me on your phone. You just got the text. Here, do you mind if I put my name in here? Because we agreed to talk tomorrow night tonight at 7. But I want you to make sure it's me that's calling you so that you'll pick up. And I've never had anybody tell me no at that point. They're just so, I can get and I've had people watch the video in the grocery store, and then say, well, I can't talk now, but please follow up with me. It doesn't always work out this way. It definitely doesn't. But if they flunk out of the process, it's not my problem that they're not interested. And it doesn't break my heart. You see the difference? They're moving through a process. It's not that I have my heart on my sleeve. Execute the next step is whatever you send them the video, or you invite them to an event, or you invite them to a call, or you invite to meet for coffee, or whatever that next thing is. Then when you have that next follow-up encounter, then you start the process over again. Create interest. This is Carrie. Met you at Deerberg's, and I knew you were so excited about hearing about a simple way to get fruits and vegetables. What was your favorite thing on the video? And so you're creating interest. They're going to qualify again. Then verify is they give you permission to go to the next step. So if I can get you started within a week, are you ready to do that? So you're verifying, and then execute the next step. Might be, I want to get this. I want get me started. And execute the next step. It could even be the first time you go through the process. It's take their order, but they either flunk themselves out of the process or they stay in the process, and they're eager to have you call, and they get started. So I love to teach this. It takes that fear away. It takes that ickiness away. And it makes us feel confident that, yes, our job is to find the open doors, the candidates for Juice Plus, not beat them about the head until they, just give up. So it makes business really fun. I've never had so much fun sharing Juice Plus as I'm having now. And knowing this process really helps. So I hope it's helpful for you too.
Yes, well, I think it is very helpful, Carrie. And I'm wondering how long it took you to get that into your head of knowing those steps and then asking in that sequence versus just blabbing on in a conversation. Like, it's going to take like a retraining of my brain to make myself, okay, I created interest. Now I need to qualify that interest. Now verify, now execute the next steps. And I know it would become kind of a pattern that you would have. What do you suggest or have you found to help people get into that pattern?
I think having at your disposal a lot of good questions, simple questions, and getting in the habit of not being afraid of their answer. Having the mindset and the heart set, I'm on a discovery mission here. You wouldn't have looked at my family and known we were a family in crisis. So look at people with compassion and also not being attached to the outcome. They might be candidates, they might not be, and I'm okay with either way.
That's good.
And really having that curiosity. What's going on with this person? And some people start with people they know. Some people start with people they don't know. It's a lot easier for them. And this is wonderful for diagnostics. I've had so many people who are stuck and they don't know why they're stuck, and it turns out they threw up on everybody in their office, and I'll teach them the 4-step success process and ask them, what do you think you left out? And they'll say, oh, steps 1, 2, and 3. So looking back too on conversations you've had where you feel like, oh, I would have run away from myself.
Those conversations you wish, like, where's the undo button? How do I go back?
And you can say to people, you can say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. In all my excitement, I just really overdid it. Could I possibly have another chance? Just to ask you some questions.
Have another question.
Be honest.
That's very good. Well, I know some of you may have questions, so I'm going to unmute everybody if I can figure this out now. Okay, I don't know. If you have a question, unmute yourself.
Carrie, this is Connie Moravec.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, I want to tell you, I am so excited because your name came up and I'm like, I think that's the lady I heard. You did a call for Wendy Campbell, is that correct?
Yes.
I have recommended that call so often. I loved your message, and I've wanted to listen to it again, and here you are, and I couldn't find it. So thank you. This is absolutely all for me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad, Connie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Connie, for sharing. Does anyone else have a question or something they want to share with Carrie? If you do, you have to unmute yourself.